Hey everybody, it's Craig Beckta here, and welcome to part 2 to my Capture One Pro 8 tutorial series. If you missed part 1, I'll put a link on the screen right now, and there's also a link below in the description. Watch part 1 first, because I also give you access to a raw image to work on. Alright, let's get started. So this first image we're looking at is a shot of the X-Rite color checker passport. Now I usually use this just to set my gray balance. It's not compatible actually with Capture One Pro 8, but that's not really an issue. It doesn't really hold me back at all. So the first thing I'm going to do, if you have the default settings in the first video, part 1, I show you the interface and how to walk through that. So like I said, make sure you watch the first part in this series. And also, you'll get access to this image. Make sure you download this and you can work on this tutorial with me. One thing I want to mention too before we go any further is that it's also important to work with a calibrated monitor. So if you don't already have a calibrated monitor, I have a video below in the description box that talks about how to calibrate your monitor. You also probably want to watch that too. All right, so let's get started. So we're on the third tab from the left. It looks like 3 circles, and we're going to come down to our white balance section here. Now, we shot this at 5200, and then we're on the skin tone tab. There's with gray tone tab. So there's 2 tabs right there. I just thought I'd demonstrate that real quick. So anyway, we've got shot, auto, daylight, and as I pick these presets, you're going to see the white balance change. Now we're going to use the target, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to click right here where it's the pick white balance tool. We're going to click on that, and we're going to click on the gray target, and you can see it says we're close to 5600 at 3. So we're going to use those settings on this image. So that's a shot. It was shot around 5200. I also have a behind the scenes video with the lighting setup for this shot if you want to see how this was lit. It was supposed to be a serious tutorial and a lot of things went wrong, so it's more like a blooper video. I'll put that in the description below if you want to check out the lighting setup. So we're just going to make some quick adjustments. I'm going to put this at 5600 so I can type that in as well, or I can use the sliders, and we'll go with 3, and then we'll just make a creative decision, I guess. I'm looking at that. I think it does look better. I think it might be a little bit too much magenta there. So we're going to do some color grading at the end, but I just want to kind of get a good starting point. So we're at 5600 and 2 for our tint. Now I'm going to hold the Option key on the Mac. There's a little arrow here, and if I click on that, then we can see our previous white balance settings. So that's what we were set at, 5200 -1, and then if I take my cursor off there, you can see that's what we have it set at. On my monitor, that looks pretty good. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look at the exposure of this image. It's not overexposed, but it could be a little bit maybe darker. So I click on the 4th tab over, and I'm just going to adjust my exposure just a little bit, maybe just a little more, because I can do some dodging and burning. About -18 looks good to me right there. Also, I'm going to adjust for my highlights. I'm going to bring this up, and then we're going to sample back and forth and see if we see a difference. Option, I'll hit this arrow key right here, and then you can see that's the before, and then that's the highlights with a little bit more control. If I click there, you'll see the 22 turn to 0, and that's how it was before we controlled the highlights. If I take that off, you can see that that's what it looks like. So it looks like it brought a little more definition to her face. I like the way I lit this, so I'm not going to really adjust the shadows much brighter, but I'll just show you that what it can do. You can really bring up the shadows. Some people might like that look. I don't really prefer that. I'm going to bring this down to about maybe about 5. I just brought a little bit more light into her hair in a couple of those areas there. I think that's pretty good. Actually, I might even just lower that just a touch. So we're at about 2, so just a hint of that. All right, so now the next thing I'm going to do, once I've made my basic adjustments, I look at it and I say, well, what can we do here? This is really standing out to me, so I can make a layer to deal with that, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And I think in the third part, it'll be a 3-part series. I think I'll do the dodging and burning in that part. So if you come up to the brush tool here, we have a whole bunch of selections. Now we can create up to 10 different layers. Now what I can do is I can right click and I can say new heal layer. So I'll click on that, and we got a new layer there. I'm going to call that heal 1. And then what I'll do is if I right click over this image, you can see I have the white balance tool, but if I hit the B key, that's a shortcut, I can have my brush key. Now if I want to zoom in, I can hit the Command plus key to zoom in, so that'll take us in a little bit closer. And then if I right click when I'm on the brush tool, you can see I can adjust my hardness and my opacity. I can use pen pressure. I can adjust the size of the brush going left or right, or I can also use my bracket keys on the keyboard to do that as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a nearby area, I'm going to hit the Option key, I'm going to sample that area, and then I'm going to brush on this area. And then as you can see in pink, you can see the area that's affected. Now you can see, look at that, that's pretty good actually. I'm just going to zoom out so you can see that. Now what I've done too as well is I have a variant. So what we can do is we can click at this, and you can see that was the before, and that was with the settings. Now I don't have, now that was before, and then this is the after. So we've got our color settings, and we've dealt with that one little area there. Now I've got screen capture software, so it's slowing down my computer a bit. It'll be faster for you. So the next thing that I would do is I would zoom in, and then I would see if there's any blemishes on her face that I can deal with. And I can see there's just one there. Now the one thing about this is there's 10 separate layers that you can use, and there's only one sample point per layer, so I have to create a new one. So I just click a new heal layer, and I can call that heal 2, and then I can deal with that. Now my brush is way too big, so with the bracket key I can bring that down. And then like I said, also if I right click, I can just adjust that. So if I just bring it down like that, I can make that smaller. So what I'll do again with the option key, I'll sample a nearby area, and then I'm just going to brush on that area, and then you can see it points to that, and then that deals with that particular area. So you can do some cloning and healing in here, as well as dodging and burning. All right, so I'm gonna wrap up this video, and in part 3, I'm gonna do some dodging and burning and some color grading. All right, so if you haven't already, make sure you go to the description box and download that raw file and work along with me. Also, if you wanna share this on the web, click on share, and you can share this on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Also, hit that like button for me, that would be awesome. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my YouTube channel before you go. All right, I'll see you in part 3.